for being here. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the terrible earthquakes that hit both Turkey and Syria this morning. As we've seen on the news over the last couple of hours, there have been many lives that have been lost, and we certainly want to lift them in prayer as they work to rebuild and recover. I also want to say that we are all thinking about the individual who was shot last evening by police, as well as the officers involved and the community that was present on our city's southeast side. Anytime guns are used in our streets, we know that there is real trauma. I do not have much information about specifics. Know that there is information coming out right now, but as far as the process goes, body camera footage will be released soon. The state BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, has agreed to take on the case. And once BCI completes their investigation, it will be handed over to the Franklin County prosecutor for presentation to a grand jury for possible criminal charges. And after the criminal investigation is complete, an administrative investigation will be conducted. And the Civilian Review Board has the authority to investigate and review all prior investigations. But today we're here to talk about our budget. And our budget amendments today will continue our work to reimagine what safety means in our neighborhoods and invest millions more in alternative crisis right response work, as well as safe programs for our children. I'm joined by my fellow council members this morning to discuss our proposed amendments to the 2023 operating budget. In November, Mayor Ginther presented his proposed budget to council. Our job as a legislative body is to review that budget and to modify it. I want to thank the mayor, I want to thank our auditor and members of the mayor's administration for presenting a strong budget to council. Council held 6 public hearings on this budget to listen to residents and the city's departments. I'd also like to recognize former President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown for helping to drive the process through the end of the year. As council reviewed the budget and began to formulate amendments, 3 key themes clearly emerged. Council is focused on safe and healthy neighborhoods, good jobs and job training, and affordable quality housing. Most of our amendments fall into one of those 3 categories. All told, the city budget is $2.3 billion, of which $1.163 billion is in the general fund. Council is adding about $23 million to the mayor's original proposal. The vast majority of the budget goes to pay employee salaries, especially our Division of Police and Fire. Public safety is still our top budget investment for Columbus every year, even as we begin to add more resources for the right response team. Given the tight labor market, this budget includes increases to personnel costs. For example, the proposal includes $2 million for recreation and parks to bring all part-time employees up to $15 an hour and lifeguards up to $17 an hour. We saw the need for this last summer, and we are committed to getting our pools and our rec centers open all summer for our kids and our families. A few other highlights from the proposed budget is doubling the amount of funding for social service agencies from $5 million to $10 million under what we typically refer to as the Emergency Human Services Fund. Also increasing early start pre-K capacity by about 25%, creating nearly 1,200 openings for pre-K kids. And the establishment of an Office of Violence Prevention with initial funding of $4 million. With all these investments, it's important to note that this is a balanced budget. We cannot run deficits as a city. This budget both makes critical investments in essential city services and is fiscally responsible. Given the economic turmoil of COVID, I'm grateful that our city is in such a strong financial position. We would not be here, though, without the President Biden, Congresswoman Beatty, and Senator Sherrod Brown and others that supported the American Rescue Plan. Those dollars have allowed us to make vital investments in Columbus while not letting go of any of our city employees. As I said, in total, council's amendments amount to around $23 million. And while my colleagues will discuss a few of their top priorities, I want to highlight 3 amendments. First, the city set a $90 million goal for the Rainy Day Fund by 2024. Having met this goal 2 years early, the city established a new rainy day fund goal of $114 million to be reached by 2027. Recognizing the need to plan for economic downturns, Council is adding an additional $1 million into the rainy day fund. This fund was utilized during the Great Recession to balance the 2009 budget. This additional $1 million will help us plan for any uncertainty in our economic future. Second, the Council is amending the budget to include $2.5 million for the Columbus Promise program. We started Ohio's largest free community college program and are already seeing success. Enrollment from Columbus City Schools to Columbus State has doubled in the first year of our work, and hundreds of young students are getting a shot at college. Columbus State and I Know I Can teams are now working to help students find the right career path for them. This $2.5 million investment is part of the $4 million committed by the city to phase 1 of the program, which runs through 2025. When we talk about good jobs and training, the Columbus Promise program is a key pillar in helping us achieve that. Finally, Council is earmarking $1.2 million from the Reimagining Safety Subfund to increase investments in the right response models I mentioned earlier. We need a health-first safety response program. I've often said that both locally and nationally, we've become too reliant on police officers to solve all of our society's problems. Expecting law enforcement to answer every call on every issue, from homelessness to mental health and addiction, is too much to ask. This $1.2 million will be used to pilot a non-police response to low-acuity, non-violent calls regarding issues such as mental health, concerns regarding unhoused neighbors, and more. This is on top of the $3.5 million that the mayor already set aside in his budget for the Right Response Unit in the 911 call center, the Mobile Response, Crisis Response Co-Responder Unit, and the REACT team, focused on fighting addiction. We are doing a lot in this area, and it is starting to show results. We'll continue to seek input from public, private, community, and nonprofit partners to get these programs off the ground. I want to specifically thank members of the Columbus Safety Collective for their advocacy. I also want to thank all the folks in Division of Fire, Division of Police, Columbus Public Health, and our 911 call center, who are working together like never before. Reimagining public safety is a long road, and I know that we can create a safer Columbus through smart, well-evaluated interventions like the Right Response Unit and others. With that, I'll turn the floor over to our Council President Pro Tem, Rob Dorans.
Good morning. Thank you, Council President Hardin. I want to take a moment to acknowledge your leadership taking over the Finance Committee, and certainly the leadership of former President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, who helped to get us to where we are today with this budget. And certainly Councilmember Bankston, who's the Vice Chair of Finance, who has been certainly helping to shepherd this budget through as well. Want to thank all of my colleagues that are here this morning to talk about their budget priorities. I think it's a rather unique thing when you have 7 individuals up here that are talking about specific things that they have done, that they are doing right now to make our city a better place for our residents. And I'm very excited to hear from each of them of what they have been working on and what they're going to be working on this year as it pertains to the 2023 budget, again, to make our city a more resilient place for our residents. I'm fortunate to chair the Workforce Development Committee at Council, where myself and my colleagues are focused on creating true economic mobility for all residents across the city of Columbus. Council is investing in creative approaches to building this economic resilience for workers, including funding projects like our Income Support Pilot, a collaboration between the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio and Columbus City Council. For underemployed individuals living paycheck to paycheck, it can be an insurmountable barrier to pursuing professional development or workforce training. Working overtime at a lower paying job without career opportunity growth, or working multiple part-time jobs just to put food on the table creates stress for families and creates the inability for folks to be prepared for emergencies that can affect their families. Taking time off for work, for professional development, or for career training is simply not possible when you're living paycheck to paycheck. That's why last year, during our budget process, this council set aside $200,000 in funding to support a pilot program that would provide income support to our residents who are participating in qualified workforce development training programs. Having identified the need for underemployed Columbus residents to receive support and to overcome barriers to career growth, this pilot program was created in a truly unique partnership with the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio. Participants received a living wage for the duration of their midterm training program, and the Workforce Development Board provided additional wraparound services for employers and their relationship to encourage a strong launch in the upward mobility career following their training program. We were able to help 17 individuals complete their training in 2022, folks that went from working multiple jobs to being able to actually move up and get a better job at their employer and have more economic stability. We already have 8 individuals signed up this year, and I'm very excited that our budget this year will help to expand this pilot and provide more career opportunities for individuals actually to get that training to make sure that they can provide for their families. This budget also includes funding for Building and Driving Futures, 2 workforce training programs through our partnership with the Columbus Building Trades, the Teamsters Union, Franklin County Jobs and Family Services, and the Urban League. Both programs are important workforce development initiatives that expand the pipeline to middle-class employment in the building trades and commercial driving, with a focus on historically underrepresented groups in those industries. Graduates are given the opportunity to enter directly into a union apprenticeship program, which will lead to a career with great wages and access to great retirement and health care. Participants in both the Building and Driving Futures programs will also get hands-on experience that would translate directly into jobs, again, with union employers that have the ability to provide living wages and good access to health care and retirement benefits. Both programs fit a critical need here in Central Ohio as we see the tremendous amount of growth in our community as it relates to the construction industry and commercial driving. I want to thank both my friends in the labor movement and certainly Franklin County for being incredible partners in bringing these programs to life. And we're very fortunate to be able to play a role here at the city to help expand these programs. Additionally, we're going to continue our work on workforce development as it relates to criminal record sealing. There are those in our workforce that are being held back by past involvement with the criminal justice system, and yet that involvement can be sealed or expunged under Ohio law. Being chronically underemployed due to a past mistake does not need to be a permanent stain on a job application. That is something that our record sealing initiative could work proactively to fix. The record sealing process can be incredibly complex and difficult, and while all the resources should be available to our residents to do so. That's why this council, several years ago, created Opportunity Port, an online tool to help our residents better navigate the criminal record sealing process. And we've seen a tremendous amount of success for our residents to go through this program to make sure that when they apply for a job, that past mistake no longer comes up on their record and allows them to become more economically stable and provide for their families. I'm very excited that this budget will allow us to continue that program and help make expansions that are specifically focused on making sure our residents, once they go through that process, are then connected with employers and workforce development opportunities to move beyond what those past mistakes were and again, build more economically stable lives for themselves and for their families. And finally, I want to take a moment to talk about young people. It's important for all of our residents to have job training access and educational opportunities. That's why I also want to highlight a historic $1 million investment in Columbus Early Start Initiative that will pay for summer programming. Early Start Columbus links qualifying families to high-quality pre-K programs with free or low-cost tuition. Children who participate in high-quality pre-K experiences thrive in kindergarten and significantly improve their early literacy, language, and math skills. An investment in early childhood helps prevent academic achievement gaps, reduce focuses for special education, and increases the likelihood of healthier lifestyles, lower crime rates, and reduces overall societal costs. Children who come to school ready to learn are more likely to succeed throughout their educational journey and lead healthier lives. This council believes that every child deserves the tools they need to be success, and this is a historic investment to make sure that happens. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here this morning, and certainly my colleagues for their hard work already on this budget and the year to come. And with that, I'd love to turn the floor over to Councilmember Rosa De Padilla to talk about the budget amendments that she has put forward in this historic budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem Dorans in your first official capacity, I think. I also want to acknowledge, before I begin, the hardworking staff, all of our aides here at the Columbus City Council and our communications and marketing team. They truly are the engine that makes all of this happen every day. The work, we get to stand up here and talk about the work. They do the work every single day. And so I want to acknowledge them, especially my office, Jessica Cáceres and Amaris Lemus, for the work that you do every day. We also have a new class of interns that are here. These are smart, amazing young people that are adding to all of our offices. I think I speak for all of our colleagues, and adding a different perspective and making us better legislators and leaders. So thank you. As our city continues to change and grow rapidly, my priorities are focused on the Columbus of tomorrow while addressing the issues of today. These budget amendments keep equity and prosperity in mind for the future of our residents by investing in transportation and safety, beautifying and strengthening our neighborhoods, and supporting independence for our older adults and women. Vibrant, connected community spaces allow folks to gather, have pride in their neighborhood, and feel safe. I've set aside $600,000 towards initiatives that contribute to safe and healthy neighborhoods. Half of these funds will support 614 Beautiful, a program that empowers neighbors to create vibrant solutions in their neighborhoods that encourages connectivity and pride. The other $300,000 will support tactical urbanism, solutions to traffic concerns in our high injury network. These are durable, short-term traffic calming and controlling solutions that make our roads safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Additionally, we are investing in micro-mobility hubs throughout the city of Columbus. With our partners in the Department of Public Service, we'll work with our neighborhoods to create parklets, bike racks, bike lockers at bus stops to encourage multi-mobility options for all of our residents. These strategies both help to shelter and keep people safe, as well as creating community gathering spaces. We're increasing investments for our older residents, women, and people of color to increase access to healthcare, economic mobility, and home security. I'm committed to keeping older residents independent and in their homes. We allocated $350,000 to the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. These funds will support home repair and residents in crisis through the SPARK program, wraparound supportive services. These investments are in addition to funds we allocated last year to support older residents during climate events such as heat waves or freezing temperatures. We'll continue to champion and support efforts that empower women to make independent decisions about their health and their wealth, with a focus on Black and brown women. We have all seen the impact that federal and state decisions have in our local communities. And I'm proud to announce that we'll be investing $500,000 in the Choice Network, helping birthing people, parents, and families giving them independently informed decisions about their bodies. Choice Network helps people who are experiencing an unplanned pregnancy walk through their options with affirmative, factual counsel and tangible support, whether they choose abortion, to place their child for adoption, or to parent. Because reproductive freedom is a cornerstone of thriving families in our community. In the coming months, we will continue to advocate for reproductive justice and policies that support women and their financial freedom by introducing legislation that helps to close the pay gap for women and funding culturally competent programming that helps women and girls understand their bodies so that they feel informed and empowered to make critical health decisions at every stage of life. Lastly, we'll be making critical investments in supporting home ownership in marginalized and economically challenged communities to ensure that every resident in the city of Columbus sees a path towards home ownership. I appreciate the advocacy and partnership of you, our leaders and neighbors, to create the future that we want to see together. Always, always centered on the needs and prosperity of our people and families. It is now my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Councilmember Nick Bankston.
Thank you, Council Member, and want to thank Council President Harden and Chair of Finance Harden for your leadership throughout this budget process, as well as to our Legislative Research Office led by Director Matt Erickson for their tireless work to ensure that we move this process forward and that we center our families in this historic budget. I would also like to thank the rest of my council colleagues, all of our department directors, and Mayor Ginther for their ingenuity, collaboration, and support through this process. This last year has been a busy one for my office, fighting to improve our community through job growth, capital investment, and direct support for our small and minority businesses, the backbone of our city's economy. This year, I am striving to continue those efforts in partnership with several community entities and our very own Department of Development. In this year's budget, the Department of Development has increased its investment in small and minority business by 25%. And on top of that, my office is putting forward an amendment for an additional $1.2 million in direct support for our small and minority business community that will be divided amongst a few different initiatives. Really briefly, a couple of those is $500,000 for a capital grant program meant to support our small and minority businesses who are at a growth point and need assistance in building their capacity to get to the next stage. Another $200,000 of that $1.2 million investment in our small and minority business will continue to expand on our successful Urban Business Connection program in partnership with the Columbus Urban League and the Columbus Chamber, increasing the amount of Black businesses served from 75 to 100 in this year. Last year has not been easy for the families of our community. They have had to deal with inflation, the lingering effects of COVID-19 pandemic, and ever-present mental health and substance use epidemic that is plaguing our community. Our families are at the center of our neighborhoods. And what you will see in this budget is that we are working to continue to build safe and healthy neighborhoods. And therefore, we must invest in the heart of those neighborhoods, which are our families. They deserve to live in a city where they feel safe, supported, and cared for. And in order to achieve that, we as a city need to be creative and aggressive in holistically supporting the families that call Columbus home. And with that approach in mind, I'm happy to announce that my office will be amending the budget to include $1 million of direct program support for our families to continue to help them thrive. $250,000 for the Ubuntu Leadership Institute, an intensive educational leadership and workforce development program that engages our young Black men during the summer and throughout the year. A $250,000 faith-based and community initiatives fund that is to support programs that provide safety nets and services for our children and families, giving us an opportunity to get more dollars into our grassroots organizations. And last, I want to thank Councilmember Favor and her office for her continued support, funding for ROOT, Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, $500,000 to continue our efforts in combating infant mortality. ROOT is a Black women-led reproductive justice organization dedicated to providing prenatal, postnatal, and wraparound supports for Black women and for Black families. So I want to thank Councilmember Favor for her continued support in that effort and as we continue to strengthen the families in Columbus. I think what you will see in this budget is the strength of Columbus. But what you will see from the amendments from this council is a commitment to say that this next chapter of Columbus, every resident has to share in our success story, and every resident is a part of that success. So again, Council President, thank you for your leadership, Council President Pro Tem Dorrance as well. And next I have to bring up the youngest and also most seasoned council member, all at the same time, my good friend, Councilmember Mitch Brown.
I don't know about being seasoned, but certainly the more senior person here, I guess. And thank you, Councilmember Bankston. It is nice to be back in this particular capacity, talking about the budget, and specifically talking about the amendments to improve the budget. I want to thank Council President Harden for his leadership in bringing these budget amendments forward today. As the newly appointed chair of the Education and Recreation and Parks Committees, I'm excited to highlight a few of the amendments that build on the previous work of the departments and to support the families and provide opportunities for our youth. Last year, my predecessor, another Brown, and this council recognized the need to include additional $1 million in the budget to extend the Early Start program through the summer months. You heard President Pro Tem Dorn speak to this issue, and I'll be working aggressively with him to make sure that happens. Due to the success of this program last summer, I'm excited to announce that we will be able to support families once again by allocating, again, $1 million of this year's budget to make another summer session of Early Start Columbus program possible. This means parents will have the peace of mind of knowing their children will be cared for throughout the summer of 2023. We also know that summer will bring families to our rec centers, parks, and swimming pools in order to create safer, healthier spaces to have fun, stay active. We have included an additional $500,000 to do just that. $200,000 for additional police presence at our centers, at our parks, and our pools. An additional $100,000 for our lifeguards. What a wonderful opportunity right now for young people to have jobs in the summertime, how to assist our personnel enjoying themselves at our swimming pools. An additional $1,000 for additional custodial staff to maintain our facilities. We have over 28 different recreational facilities. We need to make sure that they are maintained, inside and outside. You'll be hearing me talk more about the budget with regards to buying and trying to establish improved lighting, improved safety facilities around our community rec centers. Also, an additional $100,000 for our partnership with COSI to bring innovation and fun to our youngest residents. Since there's a lot to cover today, I will keep my comments brief. Over the next few months, I'll be working closely with my council colleagues, the teams at the Recreation and Parks Department, and the Office of Education to bring forward initiatives that foster positive youth engagement and make Columbus the best place to live, to work, to raise a family, and to have fun. And with that, I turn it over to Councilmember Shayla Favor.
Good morning, and thank you, Councilmember Brown. To Council President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorrance, my colleagues, and to all the council staffers, thank you for all the work that you all have done to get us to this point today. Columbus is a community that values uplifting each other and ensuring that we all can achieve prosperity, regardless of where we come from, by focusing on building safe and healthy neighborhoods, creating jobs that support our families, and increasing affordable quality housing. This budget truly reflects our shared values as a city and as a council. The past few years have been anything but easy. Our community has faced increasing inflation, a call for racial justice, an ongoing housing crisis, all of which disproportionately impacts our low-income residents. And so I am proud of the steps we took last year to address the looming housing crisis, prioritize safe neighborhoods by passing common sense gun legislation, and sought solutions to racial and economic inequalities within our healthcare. Yet, the work is far from over, and this budget is an opportunity to continue the great work this council has done to provide the necessary resources, including affordable housing, well-paying jobs, and promoting a safe community for all Columbus residents. One of the hallmarks of our justice system is the right to representation. And I am proud to have secured $1.5 million in funding to ensure individuals and families facing eviction have access to quality legal representation. Eviction can have enormous implications for those affected, ranging from a decline in psychological well-being to financial devastation. Further, Black and Brown Americans are evicted at disproportionate rates than those of their peers. This funding, in addition to renter protections and those provisions passed in 2021 under the Housing for All legislative package, will strengthen the rights of renters within Columbus. While this is just a first step, it is an important step. We are at a crucial point in our time in our city. With Intel on the horizon, rising costs, and an influx of residents, affordable housing must be at the forefront of the work that we do. Access to safe, stable, and quality shelter is fundamental to the stabilization of individuals and families, to physical and mental health, quality of life, and economic outturns. As chair of the Housing Committee, I'm excited that this year's budget has a strong focus on affordable housing. However, if we are to truly address housing issues, we must also understand and acknowledge the role systemic racism has played in creating such inequities. Within the context of Columbus, this means pursuing solutions that undo the outcomes of past discriminatory policies, especially regarding home ownership. In this budget, we focus on increasing home ownership opportunities, continuing the Housing for All community education campaign, investing in existing housing with a senior home repair program, and committing dollars towards strengthening the city's fair housing work. And just as important as it is to increase and preserve affordable housing, it is imperative we continue to support our residents who are experiencing homelessness. While our goal continues to prevent homelessness through eviction protections, rental assistance, and housing for all, to ensure residents experiencing homelessness are safe in extreme weather, we have included $600,000 in this budget to expand on the work we did this winter, which provided a safe and warm place for our residents. As chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, I look forward to prioritizing a safe and healthy neighborhood by applying a critical view of how race, gender, socioeconomic status, and health interact. I am excited to continue previous work to protect reproductive rights across the city. I look forward to continuing that work with Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. We might be even smaller, but we are still mighty. In the coming year, I plan to continue advocating for policies that protect women's reproductive justice within Columbus and act to stem the disproportionately high Black infant and mortality rates in Columbus. I look forward to continuing that work with Councilmember Bankston. Additionally, we will continue our work with Columbus City Schools and their students through the Columbus Youth Council program. This experience provides our youth with the opportunity to learn about city government and become civically minded members of the community as Columbus continues to grow. And as Columbus continues to grow, we must continue to invest in our youth and ensure that the most vulnerable among them are given the resources to thrive and to grow. And finally, as the only Black woman on City Council, I continue to be intentional in ensuring that everything that I champion and legislate is done through a lens of equity. And so whether we are talking about neighborhoods, housing, homelessness, or poverty, people of color, older adults, disabled residents, and low-income wage earners are disproportionately affected. And so in this year's budget, we have put forth funding that will increase and expand council's racial equity work. This budget will help lay a foundation for us to do the work that is necessary to make Columbus a more vibrant and safe home for all of us. But this work is necessary. Our job as council members is to pass a budget that creates a better Columbus that works for all of us. And with this budget, I am confident in the change we can make. It will take a community to actualize these goals, but the work we do today is for a better tomorrow. I look forward to continuing the work with my colleagues, with council staff, community partners, and Columbus residents in creating a better tomorrow. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague and friend, Councilmember Emmanuel Remy.
Good morning. Thank you, Councilmember Favor, and thank you to Council President Hardin, Council President Pro Tem Dorans, our team that lifts us up each and every day to make sure that we are here to announce these exciting amendments. Certainly want to thank our community engagement team, who's our eyes and ears in the public for us in the community. I want to thank Lucy Frank, my one-man band recently, who's been keeping me going. And so thank you to Mayor Ginther, the entire administration, and for all the time and effort exerted to bring forward the largest balanced budget in Columbus history, with historic council amendments focused on safety and equity, our youth, and all of the things that make Columbus thrive. As chair of the Public Safety Committee, I can say with certainty that the number one issue that residents in Columbus share with Columbus City Council continues to be public safety. I do not take this responsibility as safety chair lightly. The City of Columbus must stay laser focused on prevention and intervention efforts in everything we do. Crime prevention is critical. That is why I'm excited to share that in 2023, my office will partner with various departments, the community, our faith leaders, our civic groups, to create an environment that furthers our safety initiatives. We're going to build a program to prevent vehicle and catalytic converter thefts. We're going to offer new grants for block watch assistance. The eyes and ears of the community are integral to our success with public safety. We're going to create a security camera rebate program to make sure, again, that the surveillance that we can do electronically to help thwart crime and to solve crimes is strong in the City of Columbus. And we will continue to build out our Cleaner Columbus programming to keep our neighborhoods safe and clean. Another important piece of our public safety puzzle is continuing to invest in creating the right response to every single call that comes through our call center. Building up our alternative response programs is our top priority on Columbus City Council in 2023. We continue to hear from our community that they want to see alternative responses to 911 calls and other creative solutions, as well as the need for our police and fire divisions to be fully staffed. In addition to all the new safety initiatives already shared today, the 2023 operating budget includes $1.82 million for cadet classes in police and fire, more than doubling the amount from 2022. This programming helps youth interested in safety careers to bridge the gap from school to ultimate career. We're going to expand the Lateral Move Initiative, which provides down payment assistance for those that are first responders to live within the City of Columbus. I look forward to working with Councilmember Brown on that initiative that he started a few years ago. We're going to expand funding for our various alternative response initiatives, including the Right Response Unit, totaling $3.5 million between safety and Columbus Public Health. making sure that the right response is there each and every time. Bringing a behavioral health approach to what previously may have been a public safety only approach. I'm incredibly excited to announce a new initiative of my office in partnership with Mayor Ginther, the Columbus Division of Fire, and the Department of Public Safety, which will bring a nurse triage line to Columbus. This is the future of call taking for public safety and creates a concierge-type call system for our residents. Cities like Washington, D.C., Boulder, Seattle are finding that the old system of you call, we haul is outdated and not what best serves our first responders or our residents. This is a creative solution to help divert calls to 911 to the right response available. Last but not least, I want to share a couple of exciting items related to workforce development. I'm excited to work with President Pro Tem Dorans as we announce the initiative in the 2023 operating budget. I have earmarked an additional $100,000 to increase the Empower Development by Gaining Employment, or EDGE program, funding to a total of $300,000 for the year. EDGE is run by Civil Service and Alvis and is a program to assist individuals involved with the criminal justice system in overcoming barriers to job readiness. I've also been working with our Division of Fire, our health system partners, and our union leaders to start work on a new EMT training program to help some of our most vulnerable residents train to become part of our critically important healthcare system. I am committed to staying nimble and adjusting our strategies to meet our needs today and into the future. I believe this budget reflects that commitment, and I am eager to get to work on our new and continuing initiatives. Thank you, and I will now turn the podium back over to Council President Hardin.
As has been said by all the council members, we will certainly want to thank our Legislative Research Office led by Matt Erickson and team for helping to get us here today. Their work, their diligent work has helped us present to you these amendments that we believe speak to the values of Columbus, speak to the values of our council. Certainly want to thank my team, Zach Davidson, Linda Capobianco, and our chief, Mike Brown, who helped facilitate to make sure that our amendments actually were focused and headed in these areas, these important areas around safe and healthy neighborhoods, good jobs and job training, and affordable quality housing. These are the core goals that help unite us, and we'll be talking about these things all year as we move from budget to action. Following the process laid out in City Code, Council will amend the operating budget this evening, then postpone consideration 1 week to allow for final comments, and then we plan to vote on the entire budget February 13th. Again, we appreciate everyone's engagement, participation, support, and look forward to, again, moving from announcements to action. Thank you all again for coming, and we will do follow-ups one-on-one.